tweeted at me, SM, my mama just passed Thursday night after a short illness after a horrible fall. I wanted to share that I introduced her to the show. She called you the pretty girl that wears the fun T-shirts. That's how she referred to it. She was excited that I get to see you November 2nd. She said that'll be fun. Rest in power, Winnie's mom. I'm so sorry. I know your pain. But, for those of you that are going through extra stress, just try to take a little more care of yourself. And just get out and vote. Our friend, where are we? Tristan Snell, hold on, said, he said it's if you voted by mail, check to make sure your ballot was received and counted as legit. This is critical as many states and counties require that errors be corrected before Election Day, November 5th. It takes less than a minute to do so, and it's so important. We were saying out here we have ballot tracks, which I wish everybody had, but they don't, where we automatically get told they got your ballot, they counted your ballot, or there's a problem and you have to come cure it. So you may not have that everywhere, so I think that's a great tip. Covey tweets, the fact that billionaires don't want Kamala Harris to win is exactly why she should. You know what? We're going to beat all of them, these mother effers.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Billionaires, the press, yeah. Amy Siskin said, our media has failed us, but we will prevail, and then the few who have done a decent job survive. We, the people, will decide with our money. Thank you. Kirsten Johnson, our friend, said, not a big fan of billionaires in general, but I have to say I'm horrified at the sheer levels of cowardice, corruption, and avarice currently spewing forth from so many of them all at the same time. The fact that these people are buddies with Putin while having security clearances and massive government contracts, plus control of our news and all the various ways we communicate with each other is just terrifying. The only way to fight back is to do whatever we can to help Harris Waltz win 12 days. LFG. LFG, Chris.
Yes, that means let's effing go.
Thank you.
I'm glad you both learned that.
Yes, here's what I was looking for. Rick Stengel said, by the way, if you worry food prices are too high, wait till you have a president who deports half the farm workers and puts a 20% tax on food from abroad. I mean, every economist, how many more of these stories do we need? Who's this? Doctors, hi. Imminent catastrophic public danger. Hundreds of doctors sound new alarm about Trump. A concerned group of mental health experts issued a new warning under duty to warn. 233 mental health professionals signed off on a letter in the New York Times calling Trump an imminent catastrophic public danger to the world. That sounds bad, Chris.
It does.
Should he be reelected? He exhibits, they say, behavior that tracks with narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, paranoid personality disorder, all made worse by his intense sadism, which is a symptom of malignant narcissism. That all sounds fantastic. Mary Trump with a great point real quick. Time after time, Donald subjected women to unwanted kissing, groping, and sexual assault. If they came forward, he denied, attacked, and threatened to sue them, but he never filed any lawsuits because he knows discovery would destroy him. Mm-hmm. About 70,000 billion lies ago, do you remember when he said in 2016, all these liars will be sued immediately after the election? Jen Kirkman next.
This isn't unprecedented in the United States, but it's super fucked up.
That's a great soundbite right there.
And so hopefully we can, we'll see. We got 2 weeks to see, and even then, the fight is not over. I've said this a few times on Twitter. Trumpism is going to take a long time to defeat. I believe it will be defeated because it is a cult of personality, and they always run out of gas at some point. I'm hoping that it's this November 5th. But we'll see.
Yeah, they do usually flame out because they're so they constrict, right? So they don't expand, they don't grow their base. This is a decidedly an intentional choice that they've made. When people like Michael Steele and even Prince Rebus, whatever you say his name, they were all trying. Prince Rebus, whatever. It was not a prince. He's not a prince.
Riboflavin.
Ribbit. No, they were trying to expand the base, and the powers that be were like, no, we want to lean in on this cult of personality thing, and that's where they're at now. They usually do flame out. The difference is, and I'm a little bit obsessed with reading, now books by Timothy Snyder and stuff about how democracies die and, tyranny and of the minority, et cetera, where you're like, oh, the one fundamental problem here is that, the Republican Party has all these levers of power and these ways to cheat, where they found all the cracks and the fissures and the little openings in the democracy that we have that is so fragile to begin with, and no one really seemed to ever want to occupy those spaces or exploit them as much as they do. But they have found it's almost their singular mission, right? Because they know they can't win legitimately, because the society has evolved to a point where all societies do, that their hold on power that was based on their birthright, the way they see it.
On the kind of craziness that we've seen from Donald Trump, this kind of incessant divisiveness and focus on his political enemies instead of on the problems of the American people. When she said, I just want to repeat this again, I would love to hear this 100 times between now and Election Day. He's got an enemies list. I've got a to-do list. I think you're a better campaigner than she is. They need you.
Wall Street Journal just said, who is going to bring needed change in the sub of this poll? 40% her, 47 or 49. I can't read my number here for him, but you get the point, though.
Look, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are not taking the same exam.
Yeah,
and I think it bothers people. They're not taking the same exam. He gets to be lawless. She has to be flawless. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair. That's what's unfair tonight. That's what's unfair tonight. They're not taking the same exam. Look, she has policies. She may not articulate them perfectly every time. She may not put the stories in the right places, but she's fighting for actual ideas that will help real people. And he's talking about people's penises. And so they are not taking the same exam, and that's pissing people off. It's pissing me off.
Well, and I'm also old enough to remember that if your fiscal plans were actually said to bankrupt the Social Security Trust Fund in sooner years, Donald Trump's, that would be a campaign-destroying issue. But we just gloss over things with Donald Trump. There's so much that's thrown at us, we just don't even digest
I would just say this.
Okay.
People must have such, they don't believe her. Obviously, they just don't believe her at all, because if they did, Van, she'd be soaring in the polls.
They were six.
Her unfavorables in the Wall Street Journal poll that just came out are higher than his.
Her favorables are.
Okay.
By the way, nobody believes Trump.
Yeah, her unfavorables are higher.
We're going to take a break.
Trump, not even Trump. I'm sorry.
This will continue, and then eventually...
I remember you called into the radio show and read Trump tweets as the Joker.
Yes.
But
well, after doing
at least the Joker had some redeeming qualities.
Well, the thing is, after doing it for so long, I recognize really good demented dialogue. And there was a tweet that he did, and someone commented, "This sounds like something the Joker would say while threatening to poison Gotham City's water supply." And I thought, you know what, I should do that. Because, he can't just say Merry Christmas. He has to say, Merry Christmas, even to the losers and communists and Democrat left-wing assholes. Why can't, just say Merry Christmas and stop? We'd be happy with that. But I have a message, I say, the force is strong with the Democratic Party. And my message to MAGA is, go force yourself, all right? I like that because it sounds dirty and it's not, and I don't work blue. Hey.
Of course not. If you could devise a campaign that is meant to alienate more segments of the population, Chairman, I was saying, what is J.D. Vance's door-knocking operation? Is he just going to call every woman in America a whore? Hi, you're a C word and your mother's a whore. Thank you. I'm J.D. Vance. Mark, I know you're brave to speak out politically in Hollywood. I know you wish you could have Scott Baio's career, but
or Kevin Sorbo's.
But talk a little bit about why you've decided, because they always say actors don't want to be political.
Right. Well, the honest truth is that I've always voted. I've always followed politics very closely, but I've never publicly expressed how I felt and how I was going to vote. Even in 2016 with Hillary. But this time, I felt like I have a responsibility. That it's far more important, because I've had people say, you could hurt your career. I don't care. This is more important. who cares if I get a guest spot on The Mandalorian versus a mentally ill person back in the Oval Office? There's no contest. So, I mean, I basically, I don't care. I never block people on Twitter because I don't want to give them the satisfaction of the screenshot that said Mark Hamill blocked you. So I've never blocked anyone. But I was muting people like crazy. And then I looked up at the clock and I said, Mark, you've been muting people for 20 minutes. Now I don't even mute people. I start to scan because obviously there's an equal and opposite reaction from the MAGA crowd. Ooh, do they hate me? Yeah, yay. Lucky for me, I don't care.
And you know why they hate you? Because you're going to help us blow up the Death Star in November.
Yes. Well, I mean, I always urge people, don't turn to the orange side.
Aw, and she's playing hurt this morning.
Yeah.
She's a little sickling. Hi, Jen Kirkman.
I'm a little sickling. I'm recovering from some laryngitis. Who cares? I can't believe that the lyric in my jingle, Trumpy likes to bitch and whine, is still
relevant.
Relevant. I mean, this jingle
He's never
is 8
stopped.
years old.
He's never stopped with the whining. Oh, my God.
And I mean, he's going to whine until the day he dies, but I didn't think in 8 years it would be relevant because he's running for president for the third time.
Don't you think there's just an exhaustion factor? You said the same thing I did. I don't know if I'm supposed to say what you said off air. You think we're going to know the night of and it's going to be a landslide. I said that too.
Now, I want to say...
I am terrifyingly what do I say?
Intestinally
terrified.
Yeah,
but yes, but I still believe.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's one of those, what I say is like this weird little like witch vibe that I have. But I'm not
Which witch? Are you good
you know,
witch?
like
Are you good witch or a bad witch?
Oh, I'm like an in-between witch.
Okay.
Depends on the day. But I do think, I don't know. The reason I say that is because I just wouldn't be surprised. Like, I wouldn't be surprised by the most terrible thing happening, but let's be positive. I also wouldn't be surprised by the most wonderful thing happening.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. And I think we were saying about we just have this, since memory, right? This 2016 PTSD that's so deep in terms of, us all everybody being sure that Hillary was going to win. So I think I would rather that we be terrified than be complacent.
If terror is what it takes to get you to phone bank, write postcards, great. But if you're already doing that stuff and feeling terrified, I would just try to have as much joy as you can in the last 10 days of our democracy if we're going to lose. I guess we'd have a few months after that.
Our friend John Pavlovitz said that Kamala Harris' campaign is filled with so much hope and joy and unity and vision. Donald Trump's campaign is hatred and separation and nihilism and misery. Anyone choosing the latter is simply sad. Let's make sure love has the last, loudest word. And I believe everyone from him to Liz Cheney just said that this weekend. That maybe I'm too happy clappy, Jen. I don't think Americans are going to choose that. Hate.
You bring up a good point, and we didn't have, in 2016, we didn't even have most of the left on our side. Yeah. So forget that year. But 2020, we had some never Trumpers.
Right.
But we hadn't had January 6th yet.
Right. We hadn't had Roe overturned yet.
Right. And so the Liz Cheneys and the real hardcore people on the right coming forward, I think is a big deal. Now, it's never going to sway the MAGAs.
There are 34 felony convictions and a rape conviction later, Jen, than we were.
Yeah. I think that even if he has more voters this time like he did in 2020, I got to say, I think these hardcore Republicans make a difference in independents.
Yeah.
And in Republicans who weren't necessarily never Trumpers.
Yeah, I mean, the late-breaking undecideds are going toward her. She has, what did I just read?
18-point lead over...
With Republicans, over where Biden was. He was up 9
Hang on,
points.
there's a nuclear alarm going off.
Pardon me? Oh, Jen's alarm. Is it your fascism early warning system? What's happening?
I don't know.
Jen Kirkman has left the building for some reason. Okay.
Okay, now she's back.
I mean, did you hear any of the Hitler rally at Madison Square Garden from where you are in New York? Here, we have some for you. Hang on.
Und die Bewegung sind Lebensausdruck unseres Volkes und damit ein Symbol des Ewigen. Es lebe die nationalsozialistische Bewegung. Es lebe Deutschland.
Yeah.
You have to give it to him that it was translated into the original German very quickly.
Yeah.
Well, I live in Brooklyn. I kept my windows open, and I didn't hear it because there weren't as many people at this rally than there were at the Nazi one in 1939. So
this is true.
But I mean, doesn't it say everything you need to know? As a brilliant writer and comedian, you heard about the comedian that was there. Do we need to inflict this on her? Yeah, this is I don't even want to say his name. 18.
I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right. Okay. We're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
Oh, that's your excuse?
Yeah.
Let me say my piece on this.
Okay.
Tony is more successful than I ever was when I was a touring comedian. Now, I'm not saying that's good or bad or I suck, but the mainstream America doesn't know him. But as we know, comedians can have sellout stadium type levels of fame, and no one knows. So that's kind of him right now. He's in that Joe Rogan crew, all these guys talking about free speech. And my thing is, never mind that what he said was racist because whatever. Like, honestly, if he told that joke on stage at a comedy club, he'd be like, oh, I get the math of it. Haha, it's racist, but whatever. The context, though, is he's saying this at a presidential rally. Right. That is absurd. Right. We get that. But this is one of those guys that's always like, free speech. They're trying to take our free speech. Well, he's like caping for a guy that has said he'll take away our free speech.
Thank you.
Right. And I feel like that's what people need to be talking about when they bother to bring up this Tony.
Yeah. Also, free speech doesn't shield you from the consequences of that free speech.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's my favorite part about these idiots is they don't know what free speech means.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean people on Twitter can't say something. But they have the same definition of free speech as Trump does, which is, I'm a whiny baby. If you hurt my feelings, I'll put you in the gulag. That's what,
Right.
Exactly.
But if Trump becomes president, Tony and the likes of him will be Trump's bitches. They'll be the court jesters that are not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, thank you. And as a writer, I also ask you about cowardice of the LA Times and the Washington Post to not endorse this year. Randy Mayhem Singer said, now the newspaper that brought down a corrupt POTUS is chicken to stand up against a fascist one. Shame on the Washington Post. Nobody ever stopped fascism with cowardice. Dino Badala, our friend, said, democracy dies in darkness is the official slogan of the Washington Post. Today, the Washington Post helped usher in that darkness by protecting Donald Trump. I mean, that'll be the other story. And you know what? We are going to win, Jen. And these cowards, we are going to remember who you are. Oh, whoops, what happened? We lost our...
We can't hear her.
Oh, no. Oh, she's been silenced.
I said you're going to remember who I am.
See?
I made an unfunny joke.
Okay.
No, what did you say?
Well, I think when newspapers get owned by billionaires, there seems to be a problem there.
Yeah. I loved Frank Conniff said, in the battle between Superman and Lex Luthor, the Daily Planet has decided not to take a side. But I mean, the fact that they wrote a Kamala Harris endorsement and then Jeff Bezos killed it is even worse, right?
I literally don't understand what he thinks is going to happen if they endorse. Like, who does he think's reading the paper?
Well, I was going to say that's a good point. I don't know who this affects anyway. I hate to say it. No one reads newspapers anyway. I'm not. Yeah.
But it's just sort of it's like a tradition and institution that's just dying. It's like watching the arts be taken out of schools. Like just slowly these things that have always been there.
Yeah.
That are healthy and normal.
I mean, but this is not, what did somebody call it? Preemptive obedience? Rick Wilson said the irony of Bezos making this utterly cowardly move is that Trump will show him no gratitude, no mercy, no favor. Michael Steele said that's true for all of America's billionaires, including you, Elon, pretending Trump gives a rat's ass about them or their interests. They've learned nothing from the sad, pathetic political sagas of Lindsay, Rubio, McConnell, Nikki et al. Next up, gullible businessmen. I mean...
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I forgot that they know Trump wants to be a Putin, and Putin doesn't allow any billionaires.
Right.
He takes their money. And I think, do they think they're going to be protected?
Right.
He'll take more money than an ex-wife. Come on, people.
Yeah, who is it? Is it? Oh God, he's no credibility. By the way, was it Mark Halperin that said, "Oh, someone came to me with a story that would have ended Trump's campaign"? I'm like, first of all, how many times have we heard that? Right. I count 25 campaign-ending stories that should have ended anybody's campaign.
He killed 1 million Americans. It didn't end anything.
Right.
Well,
right.
COVID.
Right.
I mean, but Mark Halperin. I thought he was busy sexually harassing women. He's still doing his little job.
I don't know which phase he's in. But anyway, Georgia Rebecca Jones said a friend who works in one of the newsrooms that was pitched the secret Trump story says it wasn't about groping a minor. She said it was about the staged assassination attempt in Butler. Apparently everyone is too afraid of political retribution to touch it. I mean, I am not a conspiracy theorist, Jen, but I can't tell you how many people I know have called bull. Go ahead.
The second it happened, I was like, yeah, that's not real. And can I report it? Like, I mean, we've all been saying it on Twitter. I know that we can't be affected in the same way that a reporter can, but literally, what do they think is going to happen that isn't going to happen if he gets elected? They will be silenced, jailed, made obsolete. So just have at it. One last hurrah.
Yeah.
Report it. I don't know. Do your job.
Yeah, no, exactly, Jen. And we were talking about, we played some Michelle Obama. It is amazing. The what's the word? The standard that Kamala Harris is held to and Donald Trump is held to none. What is it Van Jones says? He can be lawless and she has to be flawless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was so good. By the way, we have the internet. So write your little report and fly off somewhere, some island, go to Jamaica, send it from there, go into hiding for a few months, get a fake name, and do your job.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of this.
Yep. Bob Schooley, one last one. He said, it's pretty incredible Trump isn't really called on to defend his presidency, which ended disastrously, but Harris is supposed to distance herself from the president who picked up the pieces from it. I mean, it really is We were saying it's not like he's ranked somewhere in the middle. Every historian has ranked his presidency last.
Yep.
Like it was a complete unmitigated disaster.
And people are like, is your presidency going to be just like Joe Biden's? It's like, God forbid it'll be like one of the best presidents we've ever had, but it'll be better not because there's anything wrong with him, but she'll improve on it. That's just what we do as Democrats.
Yep, absolutely. Look at you and your cute little croaky voice. You hang in there. Come on, just stay with us. 20 minutes after.
Send her some hot tea with lemon.
You can do it. You can do it.
Thoughts?
Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing from people who I have been talking to, and that is that if her goal was to close the deal, they're not sure she did that. And, some people have asked, is she being held to a different standard? Maybe, but that's maybe the world that she's living in. And on the question of who she is, people are understanding that a little bit more. But what she will do, the question about her legislative priorities, name one, there wasn't one. Some more of her personality and her sort of character questions about your weaknesses or what mistakes did you make? Not necessarily the answers there. Having said that, any time that she can be in front of an audience and interacting with voters is a win as far as her campaign goes. And they are very happy about that.
I thought her drawing the contrast with Trump, something that she's been really trying to do in the last several weeks that we've seen where she's gone.
Mitch McConnell is the reason he has two of those seats, because he stole Merrick Garland's seat. And then he did the exact same thing when he said they couldn't have Merrick Garland, putting in Amy Coney Barrett. So those two seats would not have been Trump's. Those two picks would not have been Trump's. They would have been Obama's and Joe's, but they're not. They're Trump's, and that was all McConnell. And then for McConnell to stand there and say this belongs in the courts, and then the courts weigh in, and their decision is that yes, he's above the law. He's basically a king. We're going to be a country to go back to a monarchy. Like what?
Yeah, I was so furious because the rationalization, John Roberts' rationalization was a president needs to act boldly and unhesitatingly. The idea being that a president cannot be encumbered by having to think for even a moment, or consider what's legal for even a moment. And it's the dumbest thing. It's like that's the difference. A king does not have to worry about what the law is. Right. A president does. That is literally the difference. You boneheaded douchebag.
So, Congressman, last night, right here in New York City, your hometown, Donald Trump held a packed rally at Madison Square Garden, and a number of speakers used downright racist and offensive language, no more so than the so-called comedian who said that Puerto Rico was an island of garbage. Can you just give us your reaction to what you heard last night, just hours and hours of frankly, hate, and how it could electrify this electorate?
Well, there's a couple of things. As you mentioned, this was a hate rally. Mm-hmm. This was not just a presidential rally. This was also not just a campaign rally. I think it's very important for people to understand that these are mini January 6 rallies. These are mini Stop the Steal rallies. These are rallies to prime an electorate into rejecting the results of an election if it doesn't go the way that they want. Because Donald Trump and that entire cadre of people up on that stage, Stephen Miller, etc., do not respect the law of the United States of America. And they either want to win this election or they are using rhetoric of taking it by force. Mm-hmm. That is what they mean, and that's what they're doing when they are inciting violence and hatred against Latinos, against Black Americans, against Americans who don't have children, you have J.D. Vance literally talking about watering down people's right to vote depending on if they can viably carry a child or not. We have to understand how unhinged this campaign has gotten, and the only reason that the rhetoric has gotten this far is precisely because they are trying to prime the kind of froth that led up to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Mm-hmm. And so it's very important that we connect those dots. And right now the campaign is scrambling and they're trying to blame this rhetoric on a so-called comedian. This is not a comedian. This is the Trump campaign. They invited this rhetoric on their stage for a reason. It was a chorus of speakers on that campaign for a reason. It was vetted, and they knew exactly who was going to say what before they went on. And so the only backtracking that they're doing right now is just because tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans happen to live in Philadelphia, Florida, Michigan, Wisconsin, and also the several swing seats in the House of Representatives that run through the state of New York, and they're just realizing that they might have made a big error by saying out loud what they're thinking.
What this film does, which no other film to date has done, it weaves through all of these narratives. What the Trump lawyers were doing as part of their cracking strategy. There was the Stop the Steal movement, the Proud Boys, and then the Oath Keepers, and the 3%ers, and all these militia groups, and how it organically moved and culminated in what was January 6th. This is that story.
That was a great setup for this tweet.
Okay.
File 411 says, between mailboxes being torched and countless credible death threats toward election workers, it's as if Trump's only goal is to burn it all down if he loses. I have faith in my fellow Americans will show up big at the ballot box. I'm tired of living under the constant threat of Trump. The man wakes up every day and literally punches all of us in the face. Trump is, in fact, an emotional terrorist, and on January 6th sent his violent mob of domestic terrorists, which he radicalized to attack the heart of democracy. I do think, Jen, there is just a general exhaustion factor that's going to that we just can't withstand this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even his base is exhausted because they're leaving his rallies, but they'll never admit they're exhausted by him completely. They'll still vote for him, but yeah.
Well, and also, Jen, we were talking about, this that they're trying to run a lot, like Russia was behind, these trying to sow distrust in the election system, but they're behind the ballot boxes being, where was this, Jody? I can't remember which state
place?
It was in.
Oh, Texas?
Right, but D tweeted, can we all finally agree that when Russia hacked the DNC, they also hacked the RNC and have something on every single MAGA senator and congressperson? I've said this for the past 8 years. It'd be nice if it was finally proven right. Absolutely nothing else makes sense. I mean, it's just, you have everybody up to J.D. Vance doing Putin's talking points. Mm-hmm. It's so obvious.
We saw it with the war in Ukraine where their army is disorganized. They don't have the weapons. They're not the military that the United States is. They're not the military that they once were in the 80s. All they have is covert ops, which to me is even scarier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was former KGB. So,
and by the way, the play this time is to get those on the left that, are concerned about Gaza to vote for Jill Stein, which,
I mean, it's the new Bernie bro, it's the new Hillary, basically single-handedly started the Iraq war with her vote. I remember that from 2016.
Well, Dean Obadala, our friend, said, hoping Vice President Harris never forgets how much Netanyahu and his Israeli government tried to help elect Trump. As president, she needs to allow Netanyahu to be tried for his war crimes. I mean, I agree, but it's just, we were saying, what was it, the Michigan Muslim group just endorsed Trump. And I'm like, you will lead to the complete genocide of the Palestinian people.
And why aren't people realizing it's very easy information to look up? Kamala is not in any way going to be delicate with Netanyahu. We understand.
Yeah.
It's like the Israeli people were taken over by a dictator. I mean, of course, there's...
Yeah, who also belongs in prison, like Trump.
Yeah. It's by the way, I'm not a religious person, but let's just say that God is real and the Bible is real. You know who couldn't even solve problems in the Middle East? Freaking God himself, okay?
Yeah.
So
good point.
People who just found out about politics 4 weeks ago on TikTok and are getting all heated up, for what they think they're doing, they're not wrong. Of course, it's very important to care about innocent people, but y'all, this has Putin written all over it.
Yep. More Jen Kirk.
So I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think so. I think so. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm here today with a message of hope for all Americans. With your vote in this election, we will end inflation. And you know what? It's we, not me. We will stop the invasion of criminals into our country, and I will bring back the American dream for your children and for yourself. This is all you need to know. Kamala broke it. I will fix it. It's going to be very, very interesting. We'll fix it.
But we've already seen 4 years of this type of person at the helm, which was crazy. That's a miracle we survived it. And he had people back then who didn't embolden the worst of him as much as what we would be looking at.
Well, that's absolutely that's an excellent point, Joanne, because you actually had people who were trying to, as he perceived it, thwart his will. They would take stuff off his desk. They would ignore his instructions. They would tell him no. Sometimes they would tell him no directly to his face, like the Justice Department people did in the days leading up to January 6th, when he tried to get them to investigate the stolen election.
Right.
So all those people, including the generals, the ones who basically kept us out of trouble by telling him he couldn't do stuff, they're not going to be there. In fact, he was talking yesterday, I read, and he gave some crazy rally speech. Maybe it was in Houston, I don't remember, but he basically said he wants to swap out the generals in the Pentagon. He wants to swap out NASCAR drivers and
coaches.
Coaches, yeah, football coaches, right? Yeah. General Tuberville. Can you imagine?
But what is I just want to see, maybe you can answer this, because I've long tried to understand the thing with him in the military, because I know that his dad sent him to military school and that he had trouble with authority there, and he doesn't just hate the military. There is something deeply rooted in his psychology, I feel like, because like it's so extreme the way he talked about McCain, the way he was triggered by McCain. He even last night, like you said, saying he'd replace the generals. He's always called them stupid. He wanted to kill Milley. So do you think that there's some kind of deep psychological thing with him and the military?
Yes. I mean, it's all a function of his narcissism. All right. He doesn't like not being the center of attention. He doesn't like people who outshine him. He doesn't like people who show him up in any way. And people who have courage, physical courage, moral courage, the kind of courage that it takes to be a successful military officer or a soldier generally. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like the fact that they're praised for sacrificing themselves or putting their lives at risk, because it's something he would never do.
Yeah.
And so to see others praised for that, praised for something he knows he's not capable of doing, and not even capable, not capable of doing, but not capable of even understanding.
Yeah.
Not even capable of understanding. He doesn't understand what motivates people, for example, to oppose him politically. He thinks he thinks everybody's doing it for money because that's what he does, or for power, or for attention because that's what he does. Okay, he doesn't understand anybody who is acting on motives that don't motivate him. And he particularly hates people in the military because, they act with honor. He doesn't have that honor.
Right.
He knows. And that's the deep psychological roots of it. And narcissists are very, very jealous. They do not like, you and I know this, they do not like people people who outshine them or make them feel insecure. And that's what military people do to Donald Trump. That's why he thinks of them as suckers and losers. I'm above them because I would never give my life for my country.
Right. It's so
Right?
Yeah.
Right. It's very, very twisted. And it just tells you a lot. I mean, he is everything, if you, again, it goes back to the psychological traits of a sociopath. All of those traits and an extreme narcissist, all of those traits are traits you do not want your children to have.
No.
You tell your children, be modest, be kind. Even when we're not always modest and we're not always kind and we're not always good, but we know what we're trying to do is we know when we're being bad, we feel guilty when we're being bad, when we don't live up to our best selves, but we don't live up to our religious standards or our moral standards or whatever it is. We feel guilty. He's not capable of that.
No.
And that's the whole point, is that's why he cannot be trusted with any power over human affairs.
Just incompetent and incapable and would be a lousy president.
Thank you.
Okay, can I just say Trump doesn't know what any of those words mean, A. But I love this new ABC News poll. Find half of Americans see Trump as fascist. This is before all his generals and chiefs of staff called him fascist.
Wow.
Including double digits of Republicans, while only 23% say the same of Vice President Harris. That's the problem with our both sides do it journalism. Kamala Harris is in no way fascist. It is a far-right ideology that is completely espoused by Donald Trump. It's just... I get that.
You know what, though, is heartening about that is that when the 23% say she's fascist, I think they're using it incorrectly. And the other percent that are saying he is one know what they're saying. And that's a really big, you can say how good I am at math, but what is that, 70% of people think that? I'm shocked. And before the generals came out, that's heartening.
Yeah. I mean, but one Republican strategist tried to defend Trump against charges of being a fascist by falsely claiming that fascism is a left wing. This is what kills me.
What?
She argued it's dangerous for Democrats to echo claims made by Trump's own former chief of staff and generals about Trump being fascist because it could result in someone trying to kill him. Wait, what? Yeah. She said the natural conclusion of calling Trump a Nazi and calling Trump the next Hitler is that someone will again try to kill him. Well, take it up with J.D. Vance, who's the first one to call him America's Hitler.
Also, stop being a Nazi and you'll make people a lot less mad at you. Also, every president is a moving target in a way from someone that might try to do something. And that's why they're followed by Secret Service.
Right.
Well,
and Trump has had 2 assassination attempts, in quotes.
Historical fun fact, when the Nazis took power in the 1930s, socialists and communists were among the first people they targeted for political persecution. He's such a dummy. He's just, I'm sorry, you're a dummy too if you're voting for him. He just throws these things out. She's a fascist and a communist and a socialist, and it's like, what?
And now they're running ads.
He might as well say lions and tigers and bears, oh my.
Her the C word.
And now they're running ads calling her a communist.
Right. Except the joke is that it's a different C word, because see how that's funny? Chris, who said, remember that having courage is not about being scared, it's about what you do when you're scared?
Swinging Teddy Barra.
No, it was Seth Abramson. That's some good advice, right? Do something, as Michelle Obama says. Do something. Oh, my God.
You just said Michelle Obama.
Did I? Michelle
I think
Obama.
the do and the Michelle got.
Okay.
Our friend,
you could wear an adult diaper and have your diarrhea and sit at home and do text banking. Feel the fear and the diarrhea and do it anyway. That's what I say.
I've been, by the way, you had asked for my Trump impression, which you love, but it has now been replaced by Jody Hamilton's Melania. Julie in Seattle said, Jody saying,
individual liberty.
As Melania is an automatic giggle machine, LOL, every time she does it. I've been replaced.
It's so good.
Say it again.
Individual liberty.
She thinks women should have that.
Individual liberty.
I think she wants that from Trump.
Yeah, she does.
Oh, yeah. But by the way, no one ever brings up, we never see his wife with him.
She was there last night for a minute.
Yeah, she introduced him.
Did you see the kiss? Oh, my God.
No, I don't want
to. It's like this. Yeah.
We never see his son. He never talks about Barron.
Apparently, Barron has been his unofficial podcast advisor.
Yes.
Like what podcast to go on.
He's the one that told him to do Joe Rogan for 3 hours and be late, so everyone in Michigan is pissed off this Wednesday, and everyone left the rally waiting for him because he was stupid Joe Rogan.
Yep.
I love that happened, though.
I know.
So good.
Okay. People were also streaming out of Madison Square Garden.
Yes, they were.
Wow. I mean, you got to... At least Hitler had energy. You got to say, weren't leaving the Hitler rally.
Well,
were you given the assignment to say something good about Hitler today?
They weren't streaming out of his rallies.
I stood outside of Madison Square Garden yesterday saying, you can cop a feel for free if you leave. And I did that for America. So that's why everyone was leaving.
Aw,
thank you.
God bless you and God bless America.
I'm very bruised today, but it was worth it.
John Fugelsang, our friend, echoing our point. He said Trump wants to mass deport 20% of the U.S. agricultural workforce, and starry-eyed racists think that won't raise food prices. I mean, it is just hard to... I don't even know what the word is anymore. Underestimate his threat to America, the world economy, our economy. The New York Times, I guess we have to give them some... You're a little late to the party, but thanks, as compared to the Washington Post and the New York or the LA Times. They just did all caps, front page. Donald Trump says he will prosecute his enemies, order mass deportations, use soldiers against citizens, abandon allies, play politics with disasters, believe him. And they just wrote, it is hard to imagine a candidate more unworthy to serve as president of the United States than Donald Trump.
Thank God. Let's hope tomorrow their headline isn't, is Kamala's hair pretty enough? I mean, I don't know if she's ready.
Excuse me. So David Frum, by the way, talking about this choral comedian that we were talking about that did the racist stuff at Madison Square Garden. He said his comments were moronic and antisocial and completely in line with Trump's campaign. He said, it's a problem for the campaign because this joke of rage, contempt, and hate terribly distracted from the campaign's message of rage, contempt, and hate. It's true.
Exactly.
Fit exactly.
You know what was interesting, though? The crowd wasn't laughing. No. And I don't even think they were offended. But my theory is that just like it's hard to spoof Trump because he's so outrageous, it's hard to be funny when he is the funniest comedian out there, Trump. I'm sorry, but he's very funny unintentionally. Well, and someone like Tony is like doing his jokes, and it looks staged because it is, and it's very rehearsed, and they just want Trump.
Wow, they lost even Geraldo Rivera. He's long gone now. Well, he urged Latino voters to back Kamala Harris, had a visceral reaction to the racially charged remarks. Geraldo said, hold please. Where's mine?
He was very upset.
Yeah, where's... Oops, wait, hang on. Where's my... There it is. These racists, he said. He said, Latino men of goodwill, have pride in yourselves and your ancestors. A vote for Trump is a vote against self-respect. He said he wished he had bailed on the Trump train a lot sooner. I think there's going to be a lot of people like that, and I know it's. I'm not a big person, but welcome late to the partiers. We'll take all of you.
Yep, we'll take all of you. I can't believe Geraldo was fine with when Trump went to Puerto Rico and just tossed paper towels at people's heads. Yeah, that was fine. God. But all right, you know what? I don't care. I don't judge. Wake up when you wake up. Come on in. Automatic forgiveness because.
Yeah, as Bette Midler would say, dive right in, honey, the water is fine.
It's right. Okay. You're going to see me and Liz Cheney like a buddy montage, getting mani-pedis.
Yeah, I was saying we're having this, democracy rave, and then we're going to wake up the next morning between Dick and Liz Cheney and be like, oh, Jesus, what did I do last night?
I always wake up between Dick and Liz, so it's not going to be any different for me.
What does that mean?
Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Annie and
that just means you shouldn't have taken that extra pill of Molly.
Annie in Oklahoma. Hello. Hey, Annie.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good. Go ahead.
Hi. Well, I was going to say that so all these laws that they have passed to suppress the vote, putting fewer voting machines in Democratic leading precincts, and making it illegal for passing out water.
Yeah.
So what I've been doing for the last few years is I go online and I look at my ballot, the sample ballot, and I study it, and then I write down, like on a piece of paper or an index card. This year I wrote it in my phone how I'm going to vote. so that whenever early voting in Oklahoma starts Wednesday, and I expect the lines to be really long. And so so all I have to do when I go vote is just take my phone in there, mark my ballot, because I've already studied everything.
Oh, that's
I've already looked at the judges. I've already because the ballot measures in some of these states are really confusing.
Oh, I know.
So
We
if
have
you
a
go in
lot of
there and that's
homework
the
in
first
California.
time- so if you go in there and that's the first time you're seeing this abortion measure, I think it's in Ohio,
That's
and
right.
it's really confusing.
You know what?
Yeah,
you get
so
you get
I
both a gold
encourage
star,
everybody.
and you are the smartest girl in class this morning. How about that?
Aw, I am. Aw, finally.
Okay, good.
Finally.
Yay! Yeah. No, there's so much homework in California.
There is.
So many propositions.
And I'm going to spend
things.
all my time up until Election Day looking over things over.
Whatever. Mr. Late to the polls. Okay, let's go to Matt in Chicago. You're on with Jen. Hi, Matt.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
I
morning.
am calling to defend Christopher something Lavoie. Because
Christopher
I think
Louise
he's been
Lavoie.
unjustly accused. Yeah, Christopher Louise Lavoie it is. Christopher, I want you to know that I, too, hold the legend of Magilla Gorilla and Hong Kong Phooey alive. And to say that nobody likes her answers except for Mark Hamill is just distinctly wrong.
Oh, well,
We all
thank
love
you.
them.
I appreciate that.
Whatever.
You're
Whatever.
very welcome.
Whatever. One of you very few little straggly Chris Lavoie fans.
Someone
Okay.
wrote to me on Threads just now and said, I was looking up stuff for Country Bear Jamboree right as you said the 5 bear rugs. And so they said they were looking around for a camera.
Okay. Jen, world famous writer, the Washington Post has delivered a lengthy analysis of Trump's recent speeches and has found they are strikingly erratic and filled with confusing sentences. Thank you for someone pointing out the obvious, that it is gobbledygook that he is speaking at this point.
We know that.
His recent speeches, they write, have gotten longer and more repetitive compared with those of past campaigns. He's gotten very repetitive, Jody. Have you noticed that?
Is he repetitive?
I've heard he's gotten repetitive.
Yes,
That's what
he
I
has.
heard.
They find he promotes falsehoods and theories that are so far removed from reality or appear wholly made up that they are often baffling to anyone not steeped in MAGA media or internet memes. What's more, Trump has not released any of his medical records. Isn't that, in some ways, the biggest story? Is just his clearly obvious.
Well, can I just say,
mental-
Washington Post, unless you're getting paid by the letter and you want to have as many as you can, stop with the falsehoods. The word is lie. The word is lie. It's a heavier word. Falsehood, stop it. Lies.
But also, did you hear what was the thing? He wants to be a whale psychiatrist.
Yes, he
'Cause
does.
He does.
Something windmills
'Cause
driving
they
whales
drive him crazy.
Right.
It drives them crazy. That one, I'm like, you know what? Let's encourage him. Go be a whale psychiatrist. It's never too late.
It's never too
Get
late to live
Follow
your
your
dreams.
dreams.
Live your dreams.
Yeah.
Do they have a whale psychiatry course at Trump University? Go.
By the way, did you see Eric Swalwell put out a place for Trump? Home.
That was so funny.
We did it first, a place for Don, but
yeah.
But anyway, it was hilarious. But it's true. You would take the keys away. A lot of us that have had parents with Alzheimer's, you're like, oh my God, no nuclear codes. Pudding. Okay. 47 minutes after the hour. This portion. Hi, Dana.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn in the past few hours.
Politicians under attack for opposing Venezuela's president. Dozens of his supporters breached the grounds of the National Assembly on Wednesday.
The peaceful transfer of power, the cornerstone of American democracy, seemed a highly abstract concept today. As Trump supporters clashed with police as they tried, and succeeded, to storm the Congress, where America's elected leaders had gathered to certify the election victory of Joe Biden.
Lawmakers and journalists tried to get to safety inside the building, but some of the attackers also got in before the door could be closed.
They were literally banging on the doors of Congress. And then some Trump supporters managed to get inside. They were armed and wandering the Capitol building.
Unleashing chaos. And made their way inside the chamber, where they chased and beat lawmakers and journalists
at the end of a special session marking the country's Independence Day. At least 5 opposition deputies were injured, some bleeding from the head, stumbling around the assembly corridors.
These pictures appear to show a woman protester being shot inside the Capitol building. A stretcher was sent in. She was later given CPR.
One of them, Americo de Gracia, had to be taken on a stretcher to an ambulance suffering from convulsions.
Once again, paramilitary groups with ties to the government broke into the legislative palace. 4 lawmakers were injured with cut heads, broken bones. 2 employees of the Parliament television network suffered head injuries. Firearms were brought in by civilians under the complacent watch of security services.
A protester breached the inner sanctum of the chamber. The vice president had to be removed to safety by his Secret Service detail. And then the joint session was adjourned. Earlier, the Republican Senate leader, for so long a loyal lieutenant of the president, turned on him with this withering assessment.
This election were overturned by mere allegations from the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral.
President Nicolás Maduro, who was overseeing the traditional Independence military parade, condemned the violence and called for an investigation, but also planted doubts about who might be behind the attack.
I have been informed that during this important, brilliant, beautiful civil military event celebrating total independence, there have been some strange occurrences. They're always strange when the opposition is involved.
In a rally outside the White House, Donald Trump encouraged his loyal base to fight to overturn the result of this bitterly contested election.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong.
Yes, the injuries hurt us, but not as much as the pain we feel each time we see our country falling apart when they kill our youth. We will continue forward, don't have the slightest doubt.
Of his supporters needing little encouragement to join the fight.
We're here to support, if violence happens, like it happens, but we're not going to start it. We're just here to defend ourselves.
With blood.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. I'm a Mexican immigrant. I support Trump. Freedom is paid for with blood, and tyranny always masquerades itself as safety and security, and that's what we're fighting against right now.
Hey, man, she's a keeper, baby. That's a dream come true. Let me tell you what.
Where do you put your smokes, though? It's like they're in the other pocket. I don't know. Where do you keep
They
them?
rolled up in your sleeve. What are you talking about? And also, smoke. It's a state fair. You can't smoke at a state fair. You can dip, though. It's weird. So
Right.
smoke dissipates in the air, but you can dip and spit all over the place, and nobody gives a shit. I have
Well, I
not
don't do
figured
it
it out,
anyway.
but I do not mind, by the way. Oh. It's always
Plus,
good
my
to see you.
cousin boyfriend, so he's
Oh.
in my family.
Come on now. I could love you more if we were twice related. So, but the idea, back to normalcy, relative normalcy.
Right. Well, that's it.
Like Trump coming out and kind of like rambling on in this situation of his own making, and then never sort of finding his way back to anything useful.
Pencil neck himself.
Shifty shift.
Yeah.
He will be there with his pencil neck and his watermelon head.
Yep.
And wow, along with Mark Hamill, Martin Sheen, Glenn Kirshner, on and on. Donna, the official travel agent of the Stephanie Miller Show. Yeah, is there a hotel? Is there a hotel in LA, Donna?
Yes, there is. It's on the website. It's the Styles Hotel.
Yep.
I don't know if we have rooms left, but you can always check.
Yep, go to sexyliberal.com to find out more information about that.
Come see us live if you can
That's
here
right.
in LA.
Yeah.
If not, pay-per-view, only $20. But go ahead, Donna.
Right. Well, I am actually calling for a different reason. I went to see Cyndi Lauper last night, and guess who she endorsed?
Kamala
Harris.
Yeah.
Yes, she did. And this is her last tour. So she put it in there, and she was talking about voting
Good
the
for
whole
her.
time. It was a great show.
Good for her. Although she did also endorse Rowdy Piper. But, that's a few years ago. Rowdy Piper. Yeah. Oh, no, she didn't. She said, Rowdy Piper, you'll get yours.
That was like 40 years
She
ago.
was for...
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Jen. Also, you've, written on many Emmy Award-winning television shows. I was saying last week when Trump said, "Get out of here, Kamala. You're vice president. You're fired." I'm like, how long ago was Apprentice canceled? And hadn't it already jumped the shark back then? Like, it really is like using this moldy old catchphrase. Like, seriously?
And it is the thing that made him, endeared him to America. So I can see his instinct, but I really feel like it's not cool to say that by any means. And I don't see any MAGA people saying that.
We think next is going to be up your nose with a rubber hose. And
I would love that to be brought
Also sit
back.
on it and I don't know what else. Kiss my grits.
Oh, Kiss My Grits is so good. Kids, if you haven't seen Alice or Welcome Back Kotter, go binge watch that next time you're feeling anxious about the election. It's just great TV.
It's true. Trump blamed brain surgery for President Biden's apparent cognitive decline not his age, during a Joe Rogan interview. How long ago was that? Like 11 billion years ago, Biden had brains. Okay.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Right. Trump said, those are not good operations. I don't know what that means. Okay. I don't.
Brain surgeries are not, maybe because that brain surgeon he knew wasn't a brain surgeon, and rest in peace, he died of COVID because of Trump, but
Right. The New York Post has endorsed Trump for president just 2 years after its own editorial board condemned him as unworthy of the office over the eternal shame of January 6th. Wow.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, that we have just memory hold.
Yeah.
His entire disastrous really, January 6th didn't happen. 1 million dead from COVID didn't happen. I mean,
so long ago. Who cares, Steph?
Yeah, get over it.
Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
get over it.
Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein slammed the Washington Post for the decision not to endorse a White House candidate. They said it ignores the Washington Post's own overwhelming reportorial evidence on the threat Donald Trump poses to democracy. But the editor-at-large, Robert Kagan, resigned. He said that if Trump were elected, the country would drift toward dictatorship. I mean, it's just hard to overestimate the stakes of this election and the warnings across such a broad spectrum of people, right?
I saw somebody on social media say, "Don't worry, America has all these protections." And I'm like, no, you fool. The Supreme Court said a president can do whatever they want. The protections are gone. This is why we're saying this.
Yeah. And Hillary was right about everything. Roe was overturned. And now Trump could enforce a national abortion ban on day one if he's reelected. He wouldn't need the approval from Congress. He could make it abortion illegal across the country unilaterally. This is is this Salon? The next president could sharply limit access to reproductive care unilaterally through administrative action. As long as incoherent as Trump's many abortion stances have been, there are plenty of signs that he will choose this path. Because, of course, he will.
Yep.
He will rename the country Trump. Mark my words. I hope it never happens, but he would.
Go vote. Jen Kirkman commands you.
Yes.
If you want to
Please
have nice
vote.
things. We love you, Jen Kirkman. Go follow her.
More.
Worship her.
I'm going to take care of my cough.
Feel better.
Okay.
Feel better.
Yes.